Hello, this is Alchemy TV with Steven School. I'm going to share this on Facebook. And then we'll get started. I've got a couple of things here today that may be of interest. All right. I shared it to a couple of Facebook pages, hopefully to get it started. Number one, I'm looking at my tincture I made from iron pyrite. This is a new method that I did recently with nitric acid. And it's interesting because this stuff is like a golden yellow oil. It's kind of thick and viscous. I did filter this, which I showed on the video. So that means whatever is in this glass should be soluble and pure. I'm gonna grab a flashlight so we can get a better look at this. The color is like dark concentrated gold. So I want to be doing more experiments with this tincture. There's the white material in the bottom. And this stuff, like I said, is thick and kind of viscous. It sticks to the sides of the glass. Maybe you can see it. If I move it around, it sticks and goes down slowly like an oil. So that's the tincture from iron pyrite with my new method. And here it is diluted in water. This is the color of liquid gold, but it's a light color because it's very highly diluted in water. And then these are the vitriol I made from copper, with copper metal and nitric acid. And you can see one I've gotten most of the liquid out of it, and the other one still has some liquid. So you can see the difference between those two. I got some other things going on here. I'm still trying to evaporate liquid out of this, where I'm trying to experiment with silica. I want to color the silica using vitriol from copper and try to bring it down into a stone and then apply heat to it and see if I can get into alchemy gems. So I want to dissolve the silica with the vitriol in hot water, dissolve and coagulate, and then I want to bake it in heat. So my research indicates alchemists make glass with this type of stuff, and I want to see about making alchemical gemstones. Someone was asking me about the book of 3 words. You want the book of 3 words? I was in a thrift store and I came across this book. It caught my eye. The price tag is still on it. It says here $1.99. So I was in a thrift store. I dig through, and find stuff to do alchemy with, and I usually finish in the book section. They sometimes have interesting books. This one caught my eye. It said science on it. It's called The Book of Totally Irresponsible Science. 64 Daring Experiments for Young Scientists by Sean Connolly. Now, somewhere on here it said it's copyrighted, so I'm not going to say anything that's inside the book. However, another thing that caught my attention about it is that it has a section on alchemy. And alchemy is something that I'm interested in. Especially because in 2008, when I really took a serious interest in alchemy, I came across something on the internet that gave a description of an alchemist in previous centuries doing public displays where he supposedly turned cast iron nails into silver with the addition of 2 things, a solid material that was like a salt or a powder, and a liquid that he supposedly gathered in the wilderness. Well, this has a little mention of alchemy in here, and it talks about the iron nail experiment. And in here, it depicts it a little bit differently. However, it piqued my interest because it mentions 3 words. 3 words in this little section. Okay, look at this. Stand back. Genius at work. This little thrift store find will tell you that it implies, something about the iron nail experiment. Whether this version of it, to each his own opinion. That's what I'm saying. But it mentions 3 words that are interesting, because in my research of alchemy, I came across an old manuscript, and I think it was in the Rams Digital Library, and it was an alchemy recipe, and these 2 alchemists were talking. One was the apprentice, and the other was the master alchemist, basically. And the master alchemist was saying, I'm going to scratch 3 words in the dirt, and with these 3 words, you'll understand the manuscripts of the adepts. And then after which he erased them, scratched them out with his foot. Well, there's 3 words mentioned in this section on alchemy that they just caught my eye and piqued my interest. And so I applied them to the Actum Laden letter. And they seem to fit the Actum Laden letter, irregardless of what the iron nail experiment entails or what people think of it or whether it was real or fake. Doesn't matter. These 3 words piqued my interest. I applied them to the Actum Laden letter, and here's my Actum Laden alchemy experiment from my videos. So I think these three words fit the action-laden letter very well. I've got a salt in here that's going through color changes. It's forming on the sides of the glass. And it appears to have the colors blue, green, and yellow, and white in it. And it's right above the liquid layer. So this egg is composed basically on the three words. The three words are salt, vinegar, and copper. Those are the three words that piqued my interest. Somebody was asking, "Oh, you don't want to tell us what the book is. You want to keep it to yourself." Well, if you notice, I've actually released the book because I posted it on both my websites. It's there if you look. So the actin-laden letter, what I've understood from this, is a very old method of alchemy. Very old method. And supposedly alchemists made breakthroughs and discovered newer methods that were more faster and more efficient, developing their strong waters and acids and everything. But the older style was supposed to be much slower. So here we have salt and vinegar and copper, and what it's supposed to do is basically oxidize the metal, break it down, extract from it. That should take its tincture, basically, reduce it back to its first nature. So the color of the water in this vessel is a lot similar to the color in the other vessel. They're both receive their color from copper, only different methods, one much faster and one much slower. So here, sea salt in vinegar basically attacks the copper. Salt water, ocean seawater, can be corrosive towards metals. It's basically magnified a bit by replacing the water with vinegar, which is just a little bit stronger. Interesting. This reaction seems to need oxygen, though, which we'll get into in a minute. So this experiment went much faster, but it used nitric acid, much more stronger than sea salt and vinegar. So as far as the oxygen is concerned, the reaction in here seems to be improved by oxygen. When this is sealed, it's like canning vegetables. They last a long time. Hello, Kim. How you doing? So anyway, when this is sealed, it's like canning vegetables. It seems to preserve it and nothing happens. But each time I open the lid and let some air in, the reaction seems to start again. And I've opened the lid a few times. So for some reason, the salt seems to like to climb the sides of the glass and stop up here in the cap. I don't know if you can see it, but there's blue salt up here. So taking the top off lets air in and stimulates the reaction. Interesting. I'm getting new color changes that I'm just seeing today that are new, which I mentioned the color yellow. This did not have the color yellow before. So it's undergoing color changes up here by the top. I don't know if you can see it. Some of the salt has turned yellow. I'm doing good, thank you. So this is if you watch the videos I made about the actin-laden letter, This is the little egg I made. This is in the mineral kingdom. This is copper metal, sea salt, and white vinegar. So that's in the realm of the metals. If you saw any of my videos about the Actum Laden letter or the Book of Three Words, which was based on a book I found at the thrift store that had a section about alchemy and mentioned 3 words that piqued my interest, here is the book. It's still got the price tag on it. It says I paid $1.99 for this at a thrift store. What caught my eye was it was a science book. It says science on it, but also that in flipping through it, it mentioned that it has a section on alchemy. So that doubly piqued my interest. It says here, Introduction to Alchemy, page 196. That caught my interest. And at first I put the book back after reading it. I felt reading it once was enough. And then at a later time I decided I wanted the book and I couldn't find it. It seemed to be gone. But then it came back to me, so I bought it. So the 3 words in the book that piqued my interest were salt, vinegar, and copper metal. I have them here. Sea salt, vinegar, and copper metal. It matches, in my opinion, these 3 words fit the Actum Laden letter, the old alchemical manuscript. They seem to fit it perfectly. And I'm getting reaction here in the glass. So basically, seawater is corrosive. In alchemy, it's like a strong water to reduce something to its first nature, to corrode it, oxidize it, whatever you want to call it. But here in alchemy, it is strengthened by using white vinegar instead of ordinary water. Sea salt, white vinegar, and copper metal. And it's taking this blue tincture from the copper, and a blue salt is rising above the liquid level, which is undergoing color changes. The Actum Laden letter is like an old manuscript. That is a good notation. Mercury, salt, and sulfur. What are the results? The liquid has turned blue. New salt has developed above the liquid level that is undergoing color changes, which are interesting. The colors I'm seeing are basically black, blue, green, yellow, white. So this is going to be interesting. Now, in using nitric acid on copper metal, in my opinion, it appears that I'm getting the same results, but yet much faster. Much faster. Alchemists were said to develop strong waters and acids and menstruums, in improving their work over time, speeding their work. So I think this fits the Actum Laden letter, sea salt, vinegar, and copper, that it's an old recipe, perhaps the Ars Longa wet path, the long, slow wet path, the original, a very old version of it, and that the nitric acid and copper metal was a newer version to achieve the same thing, which in alchemical terms is vitriol. In alchemy, we see the word vitriol. Visit the interior of the earth, and by rectification, find the occult lapis, is what it's supposed to mean. So now that I'm digging into these things, alchemists were supposed to work in gemstones, synthetic gemstones, metallurgy. So I'm thinking that the vitriols from the metals are nature's paintbrush, which are used to color the gemstones, the metals, and these things. And so my latest experiment was trying the nitric acid on the iron pyrite. So I tried the 3 words from this book, basically using the actum laden letter to formulate this glass, which is a slow process. Then I tried it copper, metal, and nitric acid, which expedited it very, very quickly. And then I decided to see what the nitric acid would do to the iron pyrite, which I made videos of that. And it's interesting. It's interesting. The tincture I got from the iron pyrite and nitric acid is it's like a thick, oily, concentrated gold-colored liquid with white material settling in the bottom. And as I said, I filtered this, so this material should be pure and um, soluble. It went through the filter. It dissolved in liquid. It went through the filter. And its color is really, really interesting to me because, like I say, it's like the color of concentrated gold. And nitric acid is used for cleaning gold, so it basically is supposed to burn off impurities but not touch the gold, right? So interesting. If alchemists were to make gold from iron pyrite, nitric acid would be a perfect fit, wouldn't it, on the iron pyrite? If it would burn away impurities but not touch the gold, then it seemed like it would be the perfect thing. What have I learned from my experiments? I found something new and exciting in this iron pyrite tincture, which I'm explaining. I'm thinking the iron pyrite and nitric acid is something very interesting because nitric acid is supposed to burn away impurities that are on the gold and clean the gold without damaging the gold, right? So if alchemists made a philosopher's stone from iron pyrite that was gold digested to its highest degree, that was supposed to turn other things into gold by installing the DNA of gold into other things like lead, it would seem like nitric acid and iron pyrite would be the perfect thing. And if you watch the videos I made on that, it was quite interesting. Quite interesting. So I want to do more experiments in the future with this tincture right here. I want to bring this down into a stone and then test it on molten metal. Yeah, about the actum laden letter? Right. The alchemists, they love codes, secret codes, metaphors, symbolism. Uh, you know, they don't, the medieval and ancient alchemists, they didn't just broadcast their work to the world. There was an old saying, do not cast your pearls before swine. Alchemy is deep. The hidden meanings in it, the code words, and it's deep. I mean, it's like they buried everything in secret code words. Every little thing, every little bit of nothing, every step of the way, buried in secret names or hidden symbolism. Nothing was what it was said to be. Like, I mean, even the colors of the great work, some of those seem to be mixed up. Like when Paracelsus says of the mercury, they make two of the tincture. They make 2 mercuries, one white and the other red. That fits some of my work on iron pyrite, but some of the other works, it seems like they purposely misled us on the colors. If Paracelsus says, okay, of the mercury they make, or of the substance they make 2, of the liquor they make 2 mercuries, one white and the other red. Okay, but in the writings of Nicholas Flamel, his letter to his nephew, he says you must make use of the citrine mercury to make the ambition of the red stone. That doesn't agree with what Paracelsus says. So somebody is not telling us right. The green lion in antimony path is very different from the one in the cinnabar. Universal consciousness. Right? There are different paths, different subjects to work upon, which the deeper I go into alchemy, I keep finding that more and more. I keep discovering more. You know, I mean, alchemy is deep. Alchemy is very deep. And Paracelsus, definitely, the more I understand about alchemy, Paracelsus was deep in alchemy. You know, he was deep. So I'm still working on this, evaporating this liquid out of this silica and vitriol mixture. So here's where I'm at. I want to do more experiments with nitric acid and metal, different metals to make the vitriols. 7 metals of alchemy, so theoretically I would think we should have 7 vitriols. I've got 2 here. I want to make some more of the vitriols because I feel these are nature's paintbrush for coloring the stones and the metals, for growing crystals. No, I haven't been there, but I've seen pictures and videos of it, of the alchemy lab, and yes, it's very impressive. So I want to make more vitriols. I'm gonna have to do that outdoors, so I can get more of these colors, and then I can make a chart and record which one is which. Which one is like gold or silver? Which one is like the sun or the moon, or any other things in the 7 metals of alchemy? I did see a video on YouTube about sunset rubies, which I shared on my Facebook page called Alchemy Symbols. For my crystal experience, I'm sharing what I've learned, and I'm just opening the door to getting into those experiments, which are going to go kind of deep. I want to tell you something. I shared a YouTube video on my Alchemy Symbols Facebook page earlier, and it's a video I've seen before. It's about sunset rubies, where these people go to this other country in search of these sunset rubies that are supposed to be more cheap. They're low quality rubies. And what they do is when they buy them, they take them home and put them in an oven and bake them. And it exalts the rubies and brings them to the highest quality, more valuable. So they're basically exalting their rubies with alchemy. So what they've done is they've exposed a secret of alchemy in the alchemy gemstones. How one of the methods of how they're exalted is by heat. So my understanding is the basis of gemstones, really the first step is silica, and then coloring it with vitriol, dissolve and coagulate, bring it to dryness, and that should instill the color in the silica, and then I will be baking it, just like they did with the sunset rubies. And that should give me a stone or some stones. Hopefully exalt it into the finished crystals or gemstones. And then by repeating the experiments with different colors, I should be able to make different things. Another thing I noticed, which I mentioned before, is that I saw somewhere on YouTube somebody posted a comment about vitriol. And they said by mixing 2 different vitriols together, it would make a crystal. And they said they had done it, and their experiment created something called an aquamarine. So this vitriol seems to crystallize just by coming into contact with oxygen. Almost all of the liquid that was in this vessel was crystallized. Which brings about, which in my research, brought me to the water of crystallization. This is an interesting subject to me. Yes, I'm sure this is toxic. Yes, I do think, I don't know that I could create a more exotic mineral than what nature can create. Alchemy is basically a study of nature, and basically working with nature's rules. So I don't know if I can create a more exotic mineral than what nature could create, but I think I'm going to be able to create something more than what I started with. Yes. Yes. I made this from copper metal. My alchemy research about alchemical gemstones suggests that alchemists poured acid on metal to make the gemstones. So if that's correct, then I've opened the door. So I've already planned another experiment. I've got to get more nitric acid. A couple experiments I want to do. I want to try it on aluminum and see if I can make some vitriol from that. And I also, if you compare the Actum Laden letter to later works involving acids, and the speed increase, this experiment with silica, water, and vitriol, I want to try that differently. I want to try this. I'm not going to do it today because I got to do it outdoors and it's raining and I got to get more supplies. But I want to try that with silica, copper metal, and nitric acid and just mix the three together and see what I get. I should get some crystals from that. And I think that's going to be interesting to see that. The nitric acid seems to fit alchemy like a glove, in my opinion. So the more we get into researching old alchemy manuscripts and books, the words that the alchemists use, in my opinion, should not be taken at face value. They love their code words. I might be able to do it in a live video. It's going to have to be outdoors. It's not going to be easy because right here I've had to plug this laptop into a high-speed internet cable. When I unplug it and go with the Wi-Fi, it doesn't seem to work well around here. Be careful. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I definitely think I can create a more exotic mineral. I definitely believe that. So, for those of you that were interested in the Book of Three Words, I know somebody was getting frustrated saying that I was like giving it to myself. There it is. But you know what? Sea salts, copper, and vinegar are the three words. And if you ever research the Actum Laden letter, there's different versions of it, different copies. I would try considering it with those three words instead of any other ingredient that's listed that led people astray. They never really liked to just say what their materials were or divulge. But I seem to be simplifying some of that. I know somewhere I read that copper was listed as the gold of the alchemists, which is interesting. So basically it alludes that out of copper, silver, and gold, all three being used for monetary purposes, they're basically suggesting that perhaps the alchemists were taking copper and exalting it into gold and using this as their increase or multiplication, increase of their money by knowing of some secret to turn the copper into gold. So that's where this fits in with the Actum Laden letter, sea salt, vinegar, and copper metal, and has arrived at a blue tincture. Some alchemists have told me they find this interesting because in their research, they think the color blue is very important and is perhaps actually a first color to be seen in the great work. That in the alchemical symbolism, the color blue shows up a lot. Which path does the book cover? This book does not path. It does not cover any alchemy path. This is a book I found at a thrift store by accident, and I picked it up because it said science, and I didn't think a lot of it other than that until I flipped through and saw that it had a section on alchemy. And it's a very short section, and the only reason that it really intrigued me after that is because when I first started studying alchemy in 2008, I came across a story that some alchemists in previous centuries had done public demonstrations of turning cast iron nails into silver. Whether he was successful or not, whether he was a fraud or a fake, that story interested me. It intrigued me, and it stuck with me for years. And this little section is just about cast iron nail electroplating. A cast iron nail is how they put it. Um, anyway, and after that, what really got me was that it mentioned three words that piqued my interest: sea salt, copper, and vinegar, which seemed to fit the Acton Laden letter like a secret key, unlocking the Acton Laden letter. I know in the writings of Sendivogius, Lenny Peterson book on Amazon, I'll check him out. Yes, I believe very powerful people in the world know the secret to making gold and are suppressing it for their own agenda. Yes, I believe they discovered the secret to alchemy, which is older than the pyramids and older than the Bible, older than the Garden of Eden. And I believe they used it to create gold and silver, and then they formed the mints and hired armies and went forth and conquered and formulated their kingdoms and took over the world. And I believe that's why they suppressed alchemy. It was to, hey, if everybody knows, it won't, then their plan won't work, right? That's just my opinion. Yeah, I think they know the secret and used it to their own selfish ends. That's interesting. He's a Rosicrucian and worked with alchemy for years. It'll be interesting to have a talk with him. Alchemy has three basic kingdoms I want to mention: animal, mineral, and plant. In those, there are myriad tinctures and stones. So I wouldn't say that there's one stone or one tincture for all purposes, but I would say that in my opinion, this one fits the Acton Laden letter and would be in the mineral kingdom. That's my opinion on that. But there are definitely other matters worked upon in alchemy. The rabbit hole goes deep. It's deep. It's really deep. I'm still discovering stuff that really is deep. Read about the animal. You mean the animal kingdom of alchemy? The animal stone? I am familiar with the animal stone. Matter of fact, it's like you read my mind, because I'm going on about how I just discovered something new and it's deep. And it's in the animal kingdom. It's the animal stone. The basis of all life, yes, the animal stone. The animal stone, yes. Some alchemists say, you know what? They say, yeah, it's in the beginning of the vegetable kingdom, but it's deep. It's deep. One kingdom goes into another. They're all connected. So there's three kingdoms of alchemy, but they're all connected. The animal kingdom. When rainwater given shocks helps obtain the gur. True. Water. But that's when we're going back into the older methods that are slower, and the newer methods are faster. The whole rainwater dew thing is like ancient. We can speed up past the learning curve a little bit. We can get a little faster if we get past the learning curve. What connects all the kingdoms? One kingdom flows into another. And this is something that I've just realized like in the last few days. Some of the alchemists said they spoke of one stone that was of their interest, and they said it was at the basis of the vegetable kingdom, the beginning of the vegetable kingdom. Yes, and this is a great secret. And what this has led me to understand, the truth of it, that is that the basis of the beginning of the vegetable kingdom is the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom leads into the vegetable kingdom. It's the great circle of life. Grr. Grr. I took a large jar with a glass lid one time. I set it outside with the lid on the jar, no liquid inside. And I'll tell you what happened. The jar filled with water. Even though it had a lid, it filled with water. Whether it's reverse osmosis or dew collecting inside the jar. It was outside daytime, nighttime, summer, fall, winter, spring. It was out there during rainstorms with thunderstorms and lightning. And it gathered celestial waters inside the glass. And as they added up in there, a white material formed in the water. Vegetable kingdom has a lower vibratory level, which is why it is recommended people start with that. More room for error. True, in the writings of the alchemists, they suggest to start in the vegetable kingdom. And there's reasons for it, which are deep. Working with metals can be unforgiving. True. True that. So the gur. I used to just assume that gur was short for green lion. That was just an assumption I made years ago. But when I left the jar outside with the glass lid and it filled with celestial water on its own, and the white material developed inside it, and I saw it, I knew I had discovered something. Yes, increases your level of consciousness. But the gur that I discovered in the jar that formed in the water, the atmospheric water, that basically entered the glass through reverse osmosis or condensation, it coincides with the Emerald Tablet, wherein Hermes says the earth is its nurse. Okay, so over in Germany, they have a popular saying that is probably not well known here. It's called the Stone of the Meadows. The Stone of the Meadows. So the celestial water comes down. What are my most interesting results I've obtained? I feel it's all interesting. It's getting deep. Alchemy is getting deep. So if the celestial water comes down from the heavens in the form of rain, thunderstorm, water invigorated by lightning, dew, snow, hail, and then as it sits, putrefaction occurs, if you will, fermentation. The white material gur develops in the water. But as Hermes says, the earth is its nurse, right? So all these people that are out collecting dew and trying to basically ferment it or putrefy it into gur, they dig a little deeper, if they get a little farther down the learning curve, the earth is its nurse. And way deep in the writings of Hermes, he suggests in springtime when the meadow is lush and green and the flowers are vibrant, peel back the mat, take the sample. He's saying we don't need to collect these atmospheric waters. We don't need to try to putrefy them into gur. We need to wait till the right time when the manna from heaven is present and Jesus returns to bring life to the world, and you look outside and see it when the meadow is lush and vibrant. That's when it's already there in the earth, which is its nurse. So we dig up the dirt, take the sample. So it's basically nitrates. What he's talking about there, a white salt, like a white stone. So instead of collecting dew, we just wait till the right time of spring, dig in the ground, take the dirt, and leach it. Hot water infiltration. Yes, I am familiar with the book of Aquarius. Is Gur Ormus? I never really delved into Ormus. I mean, I researched a little bit years ago about the David Hudson Ormus thing, and what I came up with was that he supposedly poured sulfuric acid on the ground, on the heavily mineralized ground in Arizona, and something white precipitated, which he assumed was the philosopher's stone, but what I think was some type of synthetic plant fertilizer. And my understanding is that people that ingested that stuff got really bad health problems, like loss of equilibrium, loss of balance, ringing in the ears, heart attack, death. So I've never been into Ormus, but what I believe the white substance in the dirt is in the Bible is the manna from heaven, which is Jesus, which is God in the flesh. So the four elements combine to create Gur, which is God in the flesh, Jesus. And it's in the dirt in springtime as a white stone, a white material, a white salt. Which brings forth life to all things, makes the plants to grow and be lush. So there, right there, I just told you a great secret about alchemy concerning a white stone. It's supposed to cause a strengthening of the limbs. It's supposed to restore health and vitality. Bring life to all things. Dead sea salt. My understanding of salt in alchemy, sea salt, is that it was used to create a strong water to resolve things back to their first matter. In the case of sea salt and vinegar, where the alchemists basically looked at seawater and discovered that it had corrosive qualities. Okay, so they exalted this by distilling it, and distilling sea salt and water. You know, they basically got into making acids and stuff, but to make a strong water easily, all they had to do was evaporate it, the seawater, take the salt, purify it, add it to vinegar, and then it's just supposed to be a little bit more stronger than regular seawater because it's got the acetic acid in it. And they could concentrate the vinegar and make it much stronger if they wanted to. The white stone, yes. The manna from heaven, which brings life to all things. A lot of people that study the Bible, biblical scholars, they never get that. And I tell them things to see if they can pick it up, and they just can't seem to pick it up. Can't seem to pick it up. The water, the celestial water, putrefying, fermenting, forming the gur. The earth is its nurse. It's in the dirt. And somebody on Facebook some time ago told me that they were descended from some Indian tribe over in Canada, and that their Indian tribe they were descended from used to make metals, and the ingredients were dirt and seaweed and water, as their salt, sulfur, and mercury. Those things, and what they used was fire and water. The symbol of Solomon signifies fire and water. It's two triangles, one inverted, one upside down, and one right side up. The ancient symbol is water and fire. That's the recipe of alchemy, water and fire. That's what alchemists work with, water and fire. Sounds like Ormus. Well, supposedly, the David Hudson, his Ormus, he thought he had found some kind of white philosopher's stone that was in the pyramids, and I think he was wrong about that. But if he was saying that the Egyptians called their white stone Ormus, then that may be the original real Ormus. But if you were to take dirt and leach the salts and nitrates out of it through hot water and filtration, dissolve and coagulate, I would think it would be pretty potent, because I know I read somewhere that potassium nitrate can cause a heart attack. So I know that some of the alchemists in their writings, they wrote that, their philosopher's stone was very potent, and too much would fire the body and exhaust the spirit, which might cause death. So do not try this at home. This is alchemy of Stephen's school only. Do not try it at home. This is not advice of any type. It's not intended for any specific person. The marriage. Sulfur and mercury. The marriage. Genetic awakening. I don't make mines the way he did, but people who make it the way I do use fire, water, and salt. Fire and water is alchemy. It's the seal of Solomon. Fire and water. It's the entrance to the closed palace of the king. Different matters can be worked upon for different reasons, but alchemy is basically fire and water as the method. So the old Indians up in Canada making metals, they were using basically seaweed and dirt, fire and water. So dirt coincides with water, seaweed coincides with fire and water, resulting in a tincture that they put in heat to create metal. So burning the seaweed, dissolving it in water, filtering it would provide a tincture, from my experience, I'm going to say, of a citrine color, like a citrine mercury. And then applying the water and dirt, leaching it, should give us a white salt, a white stone. There, I've said a deep secret. Alchemists in their writing said that, some of these things were to be found in different areas. I know when I worked iron pyrite extensively in the past, I discovered a method of extracting a white salt from it, separating it and purifying it. So it's a rainy day today. Can't do much outside. And with the big shutdown with the COVID-19 coronavirus stuff, a lot of the stores are closed, making it hard to get, substances to work with. There's a mineral store in Auburn, a rock and gem store. I kind of want to go explore it and see what they got, and I'd like to put it on YouTube, but with all this shutdown, who knows what's going to happen. Some of the businesses are actually closing and going out of business. So this silica that I got is not from small little silica gel packs like what we find in the grocery store or shoe boxes. These are big industrial sized packs. And some of these have big chunky crystals in them. This appears to be high quality silica. I was collecting small silica packs to get this stuff to work with. And I noticed, researching it online, apparently silica has gotten really expensive. Buying silica for silica gel packs, and so the silica gel packs I've been finding, the small regular ones, they don't seem to have actual silica. They have like some weird filler in there that looks like trash. So it's been getting harder to find this stuff. But these big industrial sized packs I came across seem to have a large quantity of high quality silica. Have you ever tried anonymous formula? Which anonymous formula? There's a lot of anonymous authors out there that have published stuff about alchemy. But my alchemy is pretty much my own. Am I into the using the power of intent to transmute physical matter? That's kind of a deep subject. Somebody told me about that a long time ago. And they said basically just picture something that you want in your mind. Picture it happening, becoming reality, and then forget about it and let it go. Supposedly, it will happen. And I do believe in it to a certain extent. But some of the stuff is of our own free will. I mean, if we just wait and watch for something to happen, it may not happen. Sometimes we actually have to make an effort, a little more effort. Free person, what is anonymous formula? I mean, my alchemy is my own. I haven't copied anybody. Well, I think I've pretty much covered everything I have to work with here for today until we get some sunlight and get the stores open and get some more materials to work with. This is going to be my new secret oven this summer. For bringing things to dryness, I could take this tincture, take the top off, put this over it, set it in sunlight. This will keep dust and bugs out, and this will evaporate the moisture out of the vial. It'll expedite the evaporation. Visualizing makes it harder for me, but I have been experimenting with it and getting some interesting results. Yes, I have a Facebook. My Facebook is Steve School, just like school. I also have a Facebook page called Alchemy Symbols that has 25,000 likes on it. It's kind of a popular page. I want to get more in depth into alchemy videos, but I don't seem to get a lot of popularity or publicity on YouTube. I don't seem to have a lot of subscribers. It seems like it's hard to get them. And this copper in here, this is breaking down nicely. There's a colored layer below the copper and the salt down here. I'm seeing a layer of color down here where the salt and vinegar is attacking the copper and breaking it down. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where this goes and what I'm going to do with this long term. I'm just going to take the top off once in a while to let more oxygen in to stimulate the reaction and observe the color changes and see where this goes. Do I make colloidals? I'm not currently making any colloidals. I did have a colloidal silver generator that I used in the past and did it on YouTube, but I'm not currently doing any of that stuff. My GUR, no, I don't currently have any GUR. I do not currently have any GUR. But if I can, I'm trying to build a YouTube channel here. It's been really slow, but if I can hopefully pick it up and gain more popularity, I'd like to get vigorous about making videos again and start working on alchemy more in depth, outside doing the physical experiments and stuff, and doing the great work. That's what I'd like to do. Anyway, I think I've covered everything for today, so I think I'm going to cut this short. We've been on here for a little over an hour. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for updates, and have a nice day.